Welcome to the Daily Drop on Pro Ball Daily. I'm Mike, strapping in for another wild ride through the sports world today.
And I'm Tara, and buckle up, folks, because we've got some absolute fireworks to break down, especially in the NBA, where two teams decided that defense was just an option.
You're not kidding. We're talking about a scoring explosion that had me checking if the scoreboard was broken. Plus, some major shifts in power rankings across the board, including one team absolutely dominating the ice like it's a personal playground.
Oh, I know exactly which team you're talking about. But first, let's kick things off on the hardwood, because that Denver OKC game wasn't just exciting, it was historic.
Historic indeed. The Oklahoma City Thunder edged out the Denver Nuggets in an absolute shootout, 129-126. That's a combined 255 points, Tara. Seriously, what were they feeding these guys? Was it just an open court track meet from start to finish?
It had to be. I mean, 129-126 is barely a football score, let alone a typical NBA game. You look at that and wonder if anyone was playing defense at all, or if every shot was just going in. It's exhilarating to watch, but you have to wonder about the long-term sustainability for both teams. Can Denver win a championship giving up 129 points? Probably not. But for pure entertainment, that's box office.
Absolutely. And it shows in the power index too, with the Thunder now sitting at a strong number 2 with 70.1 points, right behind the San Antonio Spurs, who are still holding strong at number 1 with 81.3. The Spurs are just a machine, aren't they? Quietly consistent, just grinding out wins.
They are, and it's a testament to their coaching and their system. They don't always make the loudest noise, but their results speak for themselves. What's interesting to me, though, is seeing the Charlotte Hornets slide into the number 3 spot with 62.3 points. That's a significant jump for them. They've been building something special. Are we seeing a dark horse contender emerge in the East?
I think so. We've been watching them on the fringes, but they're finally putting it all together. Maybe it's a new system, maybe a player really stepped up, but they're playing cohesive basketball. And then you've got the Knicks at 4 and the Clippers at 5, both around 60 points. The Clippers actually lost the Knicks 126-118 in a game that also had some offensive punch. So the Clippers are validating their top 5 spot.
That Knicks-Clippers game was another high score, keeping the theme going. But let's talk about some of these trends, Mike, because they are wild. The Brooklyn Nets went 17% in February, a massive negative 11.1 versus their season baseline. What happened in Brooklyn? Did they just forget how to play basketball?
It's like they hit a wall, Tara. You know, sometimes a team just loses its rhythm, or maybe they had a tough road trip, or key injuries piled up. But negative 11.1 against their baseline, that's not just a slump, that's a free fall. If they don't turn that around, their season is going to be over before they know it. I mean, from promising to perplexing in a month.
And on the flip side, you have the Detroit Pistons, who went 82% in February, a whopping positive 17.1 versus their season baseline. That's an almost perfect month. Are the Pistons for real, or was that just an anomalous hot streak against weaker opponents?
That's the question everyone's asking. A positive 17.1 is massive, especially for a team that's traditionally been in a rebuilding phase. They must have found something. Maybe a new offensive scheme clicked, or a young player blossomed, or they just got incredibly hot from 3. But if they can sustain even half of that momentum, they're suddenly a playoff spoiler, maybe even a contender. It completely reshapes how we view their season. The Miami Heat, on the other hand, had a disappointing February, 50% and negative 12.5. Seems like some of the traditional powerhouses are struggling while new teams rise.
It really does. It's a shakeup. Over to MLB now, where the New York Mets are still reigning supreme at number 1 in the power index with 64.8 points. They're looking like the team to beat early on.
Yeah, the Mets are showing no signs of slowing down, but right behind them, the San Francisco Giants, 63.8 points, nipping at their heels. They've been incredibly consistent. And then the Boston Red Sox at 3 with 61.1. It's a very East Coast heavy top 3 with the Giants breaking it up.
And you know what else broke up the norm? The Atlanta Braves and Minnesota Twins combining for 17 runs and an 8-9 showdown. The Braves just edged it out. That's a high-scoring baseball game, folks. Pitchers must have been having a tough day at the office.
Definitely. 17 runs is a slugfest. And we saw other high-scoring games too, like the Chicago White Sox putting up 12 against the Rockies 3. But let's talk about these March trends. The Arizona Diamondbacks and Cincinnati Reds both went 38% in March. negative 16.3 versus their season baseline. That's a rough start to the season for both of them, isn't it? Brutal.
March is a crucial month to set the tone, and both those teams are starting with a significant deficit. Injuries, cold bats, whatever it is, they need to figure it out fast, or their season could be over before the summer even hits. On the bright side, the Athletics went 60% in March, a positive 10.0 versus their season baseline. A nice turnaround for them.
A great start for the A's. It gives their fans something to cheer about. Maybe they're finally turning a corner after some lean years. Other scores include Seattle 1, Arizona 2, Philadelphia 3, Boston 5, and the A's beating Cincinnati 9-7. So the A's are definitely putting up runs.
From the diamond to the ice, let's talk NHL because we have an absolute anomaly here, Mike. The Boston Bruins hit a blistering 91% in January. That's positive 22.5 versus their season baseline. 91%? Are they just unbeatable?
91% is not just good, Tara. It's historic. That's the kind of month you tell your grandkids about. They must have been playing absolutely lights out. A perfect storm of offensive efficiency, brick wall goaltending, and flawless special teams. Every single player must have been performing at their absolute peak. It's an incredible run, and if they can sustain even a fraction of that, they're not just a cup contender. They're the team everyone else is measuring themselves against.
It's astounding. No wonder they're projected to be a powerhouse. But in the Power Index, the Buffalo Sabres are still holding strong at number 1 with 79.4 points. They've been a consistently strong team this season.
They have been. And then, surprisingly, the Utah Mammoth are number 2 with 72.2 points. The Islanders and Hurricanes are right there too. But speaking of the Hurricanes, they went 50% in January, a negative 11.9 versus their baseline. And the Colorado Avalanche were 56%, negative 11.1. So while Boston was soaring, 2 other perennial contenders were really struggling. What do you make of that dip for the Canes and Avs?
It's a huge concern, especially for teams with championship aspirations. Maybe they were looking ahead, maybe some injuries, but that kind of dip in form in January, which is a grind month, can really impact their playoff seeding. They need to find that gear again, or they could face an early exit. Meanwhile, we saw some interesting scores. LA beat Columbus 5-4, the Rangers dominated Philly 6-2, and Ottawa shut out Vancouver 2-0.
That Ottawa shutout is impressive. Goaltending really makes a difference. And then Calgary got absolutely hammered by Washington 7-3. So a mixed bag across the league, but that Bruin stat, wow. Let's shift gears to MLS now. The Power Index has New York City FC at the top with a dominant 85.7 points. They are really setting the pace.
They are, and LAFC isn't far behind at 82.1, with Real Salt Lake also strong at 80.7. So those 3 are really creating a gap from the rest of the league. Charlotte FC and Austin FC are tied at 64.5, so a bit of a drop-off after the top 3. No standout stats for today in MLS, just consistent quality from the top clubs.
Exactly. Sometimes even the best leagues need a breather. And that's pretty much the case for La Liga and the EPL today as well. In La Liga, Barcelona remains dominant at number 1 with 79.9 points. No surprise there.
Right, but Getafe is a strong number 2 with 77.7 points, which is a bit of a surprise. Atletico Madrid is at 3 with 75.2. Only 1 score there today, Oviedo 1-1 Espanyol. So not much action, but Getafe holding strong is interesting.
Definitely. And over in the EPL, Wolverhampton Wanderers are leading the Power Index at 87.9 points. That's a fantastic season for them so far. Everton is right there at 86.8, and Arsenal is at 84.4, a very tight race at the top of the Premier League.
It is, and no games today means fans are definitely starved for action and those standout stats. You want to see who's making moves, but it was a quiet day on the pitch.
Time to move to NCAAB. We've got Duke Blue Devils leading the Power Index with 83.7 points, as expected. Michigan at 81.0 is right there too, but a couple of interesting names in the top 5. George Mason Patriots at 79.6 and Miami OA Redhawks at 78.9. They're making some noise.
They absolutely are. It's not just the traditional powerhouses this year, and that's what makes college hoops so exciting. You've got teams like George Mason and Miami OA proving they belong in that top tier. We saw Gonzaga win 65-56 over Oregon State, which is what you'd expect. But Santa Clara pulled off an upset, beating St. Mary's 76-71. That's the kind of game that shakes up conference races.
That's a huge upset, Tara. SMC is a tough team, So for Santa Clara to go in there and get the win, that speaks volumes about their resilience and talent. It'll definitely have ripple effects in the rankings and for tournament seeding. No standout stats today overall, but that upset is a stat in itself. All right, before we wrap up, a quick check on anything we might have missed. Looking at the scores again, that Memphis-Brooklyn game, BKN won 126-115, so maybe a tiny flicker of hope for the Nets, but not enough to offset that awful February trend. And Cleveland beating Philly 115-101, so some big wins for teams looking to make their move.
Yeah, the Nets pulling out a win doesn't erase that miserable month, but it's a start. And Cleveland looking solid against a tough Philly team is a good sign for them.
So, Tara, if you had to pick one single biggest takeaway from today's Daily Drop, what would it be?
Mike, it has to be the sheer offensive explosion we saw in the NBA. 255 combined points in one game, another over 240. It's a league that's evolving